Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to our regular monthly board meeting. If you guys notice, there's students here, parents, students. We're doing something special tonight. We haven't done in what? 19 months. We have someone in the boardroom. Kids, parents, we're doing Star 3 recognitions, and that is, man, that's what we're here for. We're tickled to death to have you here. Trying to get it back to normal as we can. This is how it used to be. This is what made it fun. And hey, I also noticed, what is this on the back row? Is this security or what? I mean, I love it. We got the principal standing by if there's any problem tonight. Appreciate you guys being here. But all of our staff and all here tonight, we appreciate you coming. And so at this time, would you please join me for a moment of silence? Thank you. At this time, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, before I turn it over to Dr. Gainey for some comments, we'd like to take this time to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and hope you guys don't listen too close to what maybe the government says. Spend time with your family and enjoy yourself through the holiday season, okay? Okay, because we sure are. Dr. Gainey?
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Just wanted to share some things that have been going on in the last month. Had a chance, one of my favorite things this time of year is to participate in holiday parades throughout school, throughout the county. Had a chance a couple weeks ago to participate in one in Randleman, then in Franklinville, Seagrove, and Archdale. And in these parades, the Kiwanis Club has provided books for the Partnership for Children to give out to children throughout the county. And it's just a great thrill to me to see our county, all the people throughout the county. And I want to say a big thank you to Lisa Hayworth, Executive Director of Randolph County Partnership for Children. I used to be on that board, and when I came off that board, I was strongly begged for her to continue to invite me to these parades. I love going into the communities and seeing the members of the community. So that was a big event at the end of the previous week and the previous weekend. Also on the 3rd of December, I had a chance to participate in the Ashboro Christmas Parade. It was a little different. It was a drive-through for some of you. It was quite interesting. I didn't know that I was going to be, till right maybe a week prior, I was a judge of the floats, and I don't really know if I know how to judge floats or not, because when we rode through the first time, I realized I had not rated about 3 or 4 of them, because again, I was seeing community members throughout the county and was having more fun talking out the truck window to them than I was doing my job on that. But I did get to do that with Dr. Aaron Woody and Dr. Sharon Castelli. Aaron Woody is superintendent of Ashburn City Schools, and Sharon Castelli is the superintendent of the charter school, and did enjoy the time with them as well. I want to say a big thank you to Ms. Christy Chips at Farmer Elementary School. Last Monday and last Friday, I had an opportunity to go out and watch her work with kindergarten students. If you don't know Ms. Chips, she is a very talented individual. She's the music teacher at Farmer Elementary, and she put together some videos of children singing and was going to make a master video for the school. I think it's now posted for everybody on the webpage. So I want to say a big thank you to Ms. Chips and her students for their great performances. Last Monday, there was a special event in this county. You've probably seen it in the press. It's one that has been alive and well as far as a goal since I came here 9 years ago. In fact, when I took this job in the spring of 13, I was coming back and forth some to interview principal candidates, and my uncle, who lives in Raleigh, said, there's some big project going on in Randolph. And so I don't know what it is, and I later learned it was an opportunity to get a big manufacturing plant here. And at that time, it was a car manufacturing plant, and that's what we wound up with. A part of a car, they're going to do batteries for the electric cars. Toyota is coming, and I've been very excited to be able to have conversations with leaders in this community as this project has been pursued for years. I was on the Economic Development Corporation board as we were working through this, but have been off that for several years. Just want to say a big thank you to our commissioners. and our leaders throughout the county, because this is going to provide opportunities for our kids for the future and for many years to come. And I want to say a big thank you to Kevin Franklin, who is the president of the Economic Development Corporation, for his work and his continued campaigning for this with our commissioners. They have worked extremely hard. So great big announcement last Monday. Looking forward to seeing that play out in our schools, in our county and our school system, how it will affect us. On the 7th of December, I had a chance to go to Liberty Elementary School and read to Miss Wilson's second grade class and Miss Holbrook's kindergarten class. Always enjoy that. And then that night, I see Bruce Carroll in the back. I had a chance to go to Wheatmore Middle School's winter concert. And I want to say a big thank you to Eric Johnson, because the concert was at Eric's school. And as we've built a new middle school in the Trinity area, trying to get the high schools and middle schools lined up, and I thought that was a great step. Eric, it was a great night in your auditorium, and I just appreciated the teamwork there. I want to say a big thank you to Jade Tolles, the band director, for her work with the children. It was a great performance by everybody. Also want to thank Caroline McKee, agricultural teacher at Trinity High School, and Sarah Fuller-Moore, agricultural teacher at URB 612. You see the poinsettias out front, and both teachers, students provided those tonight for the holiday season. Finally, as we move to the holiday break, I just want to say thank you to everybody on this board. I want to say a big thank you to the students of this school system. Thank you to the staff members of this school system and the members of this community for what you do to make this a special place. I can tell you I've loved Randolph County as hard as I can for the last 9 years. And there's no other place as special as Randolph County other than one that we're probably a tie now, and that's my hometown. I have a quote in my office by Lou Holtz, and one of the last lines of that quote says, "Don't ever forget where you came from." So Havelock, North Carolina will always be special to me, but Randolph County is no less special than the place that will always be special. This is a wonderful place. Thank you, parents. It is great to see you back in this boardroom. We've been wanting this for a long time. It's been 19 months. Teachers are here, principals are here. This is what it's all about. And we're going to recognize kids tonight for doing many different great things in the school system, whether it be high character, high academics, some kind of athletic achievement. Who knows what they're being recognized for tonight? You know it because the write-ups are there. But that's what the Star 3 recognition program's about. And glad to have you back. And we're going to continue rolling with this as we move throughout the year. So board members, thank you. Students, thank you. Staff members, thank you. And parents and community members, thank you for making this a wonderful place. And board members, I'm going to pass out a calendar to you with the rest of the school year, some special events. It's been updated, so I'll share that with you. We usually do this in work session, but since we didn't have a work session tonight, I want to make sure you have that. So thank you everybody for attending, and principals. You know you're high on my list, and it's a thrill to see you in the back corner of the room all together. Assistant principals and principals. I know we have some of both groups, and I know we have teachers in here as well. So Mr. Cook, that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Gainey. Okay, at this time, we're going to move on to what we've been waiting, 19 months for. Let's recognize some kids.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cook. Good evening to you and to all the board members, to Dr. Gainey, to our guests. It's been mentioned a couple of times this evening that we're going to recognize Star 3 students, but that's not all that we're recognizing. We're going to begin our recognition with something that we do every year at this time, and that's to recognize our holiday art card winner. Each year, the Randolph County School System does select a holiday card that has been designed by one of our students. We select a winner from elementary school, middle school, and high school in alternating years. And for the 2021-2022 school year, it is our elementary school's turn. So each August, we send a letter to the schools and we ask them to submit their students' holiday art cards by the end of October, and all the cards are displayed in our central office and they're voted on by our central office staff members. The selected card for the 2021-2022 school year was designed by Piper Blackman. She's a 5th grade student at Farmer Elementary School, and Piper's art teacher at Farmer Elementary is Layer Gohenola. Nearly 200 copies of Piper's winning card have been printed and will be sent to all of our schools, our central office departments, approximately 25 area school systems, local businesses, local chambers of commerce, city and county offices, and local dignitaries. So this evening, we'd like to present Piper with a framed edition of her card, the original artwork, a Pride in RCSS certificate, and additional copies of her card. So Piper, if you would, please come forward to be recognized, and anyone here in support of Piper is welcome to stand. Congratulations, that's a great job. Oh, and Dad wants to get a picture. All right, so now it is time to recognize our Star 3 students for the month of December. You may or may not be familiar with the Star 3 program if you're a guest. The Star 3 program honors students who are respectful, responsible, and doing the right thing. The criteria for selection could include being a role model for others, making positive accomplishments inside and outside of school, good attendance, passing grades in spite of obstacles in life, good behavior, and nomination from a faculty member. We want to thank the Courier Tribune. They serve as our Star 3 sponsor. This is the 9th year in a row that they've done that. They purchased the 96 plaques that we will hand out during the school year, and we're certainly grateful for their support. So now for the presentation of the Star 3 Awards students, as I call your name, please come forward to the front to receive your plaque. And if you will, we're going to ask that you remain at the front until all the students have come forward, and parents and other family members or anyone else here in support of the student are welcome to stand as the student comes forward. And please know we will give you an opportunity to take group photos at the end. So we will start with Archdale Elementary School 4th grader Alyssa Shaw. Alyssa Shaw is an outstanding student at Archdale Elementary School. She goes above and beyond what is expected of her on a daily basis. Alyssa is the best classmate, offers kindness to all of her peers, enjoys helping others, and is a great model to all students. She is a hard worker and has wonderful manners. Alyssa is an active member of the school's student council. Congratulations, Alyssa Shaw, Archdale Elementary School Star 3 student for December. From Hopewell Elementary School, 3rd grader Lillian Doolin. Lillian Doolin is a remarkable young student. She is such a ray of sunshine to any room she enters, and I think we saw that tonight. In the classroom, Lillian has unmatched determination. She works for everything she gets, and even when things are difficult, she does not give up and keeps fighting. It is her fight that draws people to her. Lillian is always willing to help, volunteer, answer, share her ideas, and offer strategies to her classmates. Each day she enters the room with a smile and consistently finds the good in everything she faces. Lillian's classmates describe her as loyal, thoughtful, and fun. There is not enough time in a day to share all Lillian has overcome, both inside and outside the classroom. It is our pleasure to recognize Lillian Doolin as Hopewell Elementary School Star 3 student for December. From John Lawrence Elementary School, 4th grader Emery Lockwood. Emery Lockwood has been selected as John Lawrence Elementary School Star 3 student because of her sweet personality, bright smile, and simply being a joy to teach. There are many ways to describe her positive character traits. She is kind and respectful to all her classmates, courteous to her teachers and other staff, and always has a happy disposition. She demonstrates a willingness to learn and a desire to help others in any way she can. Emery gives 100% each and every day, and it shows. We truly enjoy having Emery in 4th grade. Congratulations to Emery Lockwood, John Lawrence Elementary School Star 3 student for December. From New Market Elementary School, 5th grader Mylan Shrimsher. Mylan Shrimsher is an extremely hardworking young student. She is a leader in the classroom and in the school as she serves on safety patrol. Mylan is always ready to listen, helps her teachers and classmates, and is kind and respectful at all times. She is always cheerful and always has a smile on her face. Is a super sweet child with much personality. Mylan Shrimsher truly is the definition of Bobcat pride, and we're proud to have her represent New Market Elementary School as our Star 3 student for December. From Randolph Early College High School, 10th grader Jason Bradshaw. Jason Bradshaw has a contagious personality and is very creative with brainstorming ideas to improve the culture of the school. He is highly involved on the yearbook staff and looks for ways to promote fun activities through his disposition. Recently, Jason came up with the idea for a holiday spirit week and has truly taken charge of organizing and planning the week. This event was created to be a stress reliever as we head into exams and provide photo opportunities for the yearbook. Jason is also involved in the student-led drama club where he has flourished with his acting and collaborative skills. It has been awesome to see his leadership skills on display. We are proud of Jason's growth and the impact he has on the school. Congratulations, Jason Bradshaw, for representing Randolph Early College High School so well and for being our Star 3 student for December. From Trindale Elementary School, 4th grader Coy Baldwin. Coy Baldwin is a very hard worker, extremely conscientious, and always has a positive attitude. He is always willing to help his classmates and teachers, cares about his work, and always goes above and beyond to be sure he turns in his absolute best. Coy is a very selfless person. He always thinks of others before himself. Coy Baldwin is a true pleasure to teach, and Trindale Elementary School is happy to have him as our Star 3 student for December. From Trinity Elementary School, 3rd grader Peyton Johnson. Peyton Johnson loves learning and coming to school. She shows up at school each day with a smile on her face. Peyton works hard to do her best academically as she works to think, explore, and succeed each day. She is a joy to have in the classroom and is friendly and caring towards everyone she meets. Peyton is a good friend to everyone and always makes sure no one feels like they are being left out. Trinity Elementary is proud to recognize Peyton Johnson as our Star 3 student for the month of December. From Trinity High School, 11th grader Abigail Todd. Abigail Todd is an excellent student who pushes herself with the most rigorous courses Trinity High School has to offer. Paired with her academic prowess, Abby is deeply rooted in student council and tennis and serves as an editor for the yearbook. The Trinity High community is proud of Abby and her accomplishments as she continues to persevere through life's obstacles with her optimistic attitude and tremendous work ethic. Abby embodies what it means to be a Trinity Bulldog. Congratulations to Abigail Todd on being selected Trinity High School Star 3 student for December. From Trinity Middle School, 7th grader Jalen Smith. When we think about a Trinity Middle School Bulldog, we think of hardworking, focused, respectful, kind, and considerate to all students and staff. We think of one who does not always put himself or herself first and is a problem solver in all areas of school and athletic career. Jalen Smith is the embodiment of what every student should aspire to be as a TMS Bulldog. He is attentive and respectful to teachers and peers on a daily basis. He is a true student athlete who understands that academics come first and playing the sport is an added bonus. Jalen gives us all in the classroom and on the football field where he is a role model for all of our students. We are proud to recognize Jalen Smith as Trinity Middle School Star 3 student for December. From Wheatmore High School, 12th grader Jacob Martin. Jacob Martin has been an active member in Wheatmore High School's Cultural Arts Department, as well as many student organizations. He has maintained a grade point average over 4.0 while taking a rigorous course load and being actively involved in our school community. Mrs. Barkley, the faculty sponsor of Health Occupation Students of America, states that Jacob recently competed in the Health Occupation Students of America Piedmont Triad Regionals in Mount Airy. The event he chose was prepared speaking, in which he had to speak on the topic, Shatter Your Expectations. Jacob gave an outstanding speech on how involvement in HOSA and Wheatmore has helped him grow in self-confidence and leadership. The growth Jacob Martin has shown as a student and a leader over his 4 years at Wheatmore sets him apart and is the reason he has been chosen as our Star 3 student for December. From Wheatmore High School, 7th grader Cassidy Jackson. As educators, we teach many different students with a plethora of personalities and skill sets. While each one is an honor to help mold, it is a real treat when we get a well-balanced, curious learner. This student is always engaged in the lessons taught in class, learning for himself and also helping others master new skills. During more challenging lessons, he is often overheard discussing among his peers the ways to tackle a problem rather than giving up in frustration. Consequently, he is consistently successful in the classroom and motivates others to be the same. Liked by his peers for his positive approach to life, kindness to all, and a great sense of humor, this young man exemplifies what it takes to be a great role model. And for this reason, Wheatmore Middle School is proud to select Cassidy Jackson to be our Star 3 student for December. All right, we're going to slide this out of the way, and so we can open this up for photographs. You're welcome to come take as many pictures as you want to take. Let's do this in 2 rows. Put the taller ones on the back. Maybe if you want to slide on the back row. You kind of squeeze together. There you go. Does that work, baby? Does it work? Should I? We're going to make sure that we get one official photo of everybody looking at our hair. Oh, really? All right, thank you so much. Congratulations. All right, we've got one more recognition to do.
Tim, while you're doing that, for those of you who haven't seen the Star 3 process and recognitions, we recognize 3 people per school over the course of a year, and we try to put them in regions, so we'll have about 10 or 11 at a board meeting at a time. So over the course of a year, we recognize 96 students. So we'll probably have about, Tim, I'd say about half of the year left of recognitions. We do something very similar with our employees, but we only do that. Each school gets 2 recognitions a year there. So Star 3 is sponsored by Vicki Gallimore and Star Employees. Courier Tribune, and Vicki Gallimore does Star Employee, yes. All right. To close out our recognitions, we're going to recognize one of our high schools. The North Carolina Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development has a prestigious Lighthouse School Award that is presented annually to one or more North Carolina schools that are leading the way in innovative programs and practices. And for the 2021-2022 school year, the leadership team of the Randolph County School System has nominated Eastern Randolph High School
for the Lighthouse School Award. A school motto is designed to encapsulate the beliefs and ideals of an organization. The phrase, "We are, ER," speaks to the inclusive culture that has been cultivated for over 5 decades in this small town rural high school. Eastern Randolph High School has a history steeped in tradition and community connections that continues to fuel the success of the school and its students today. With a current enrollment of approximately 600 students, Eastern Randolph proudly hosts a diverse student body comprising 50% Caucasian, 29% Hispanic, 10% African American, and 7% multiracial students. While diversity is celebrated, Eastern Randolph is strongly steeped in unity as a school. We are, ER, means that all voices matter and they do whatever it takes to get the job done. Among those nominated for this award, the school or schools selected for the Lighthouse Award will be awarded at the NCAA SCD 2022 Annual Conference on February the 2nd through the 4th in Pinehurst, North Carolina. At this time, we want to recognize Eastern Randolph for this outstanding honor. I'm going to ask the school's principal, Dr. Susan Chappell, to come forward to receive a special Pride in RCSS certificate from our Board of Education, and anyone here in support of the school is welcome to stand.
Susan, I want to say thank you to you as well for how much you love that school. It comes across every time I go out there. And for the crowd, I had a picture come across my text Friday as Susan was being hooded for finishing her doctorate at UNCG. So congratulations.
And that concludes our time of recognition for this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys for coming out, and unless you want to stay for the rest, you're free to leave. Yep.
I told my wife, I said, me and everybody works out. I said, I'm jumping behind Sharon because anybody will shoot her.
Don't know that.
Everybody loves Sharon.
You had that conversation. She's handing out.
Well, that way,
Come on, man. That's a bad saying. Come on, man.
Okay, board members, at this time, I'd like to call the board's annual meeting to order. This time I will accept, as we go through our annual meeting, and we need to elect a chair and vice chair, I'll accept nominations for board chair. We'll start with that tonight. When we finish that, I'll turn it over to the vice chair, and we go from there with the next election of vice chair. So, any nominations for board chair?
Dr. Gay, I'd like to nominate Gary Cook as board chair.
Okay, any other nominations for board chair? Okay, is there a motion to appoint Gary Cook as board chair by acclamation?
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay, Mr. Cook, you are the chair of the Randolph County Board of Education. I will give you the ballots for the vice chair election, and
I appreciate that, I think, but I'm just wondering, I don't know, did you really mean I'd be a good board chair, or nobody else wants it? Because the last several months we've had.
I didn't say that.
I'm just thinking, you know.
Nobody else wanted
I
it.
don't think anybody else wanted it, but, I appreciate the vote of confidence, I guess, but hadn't been an easy job, but, you know what? I still say, we've been put in a tough situation we shouldn't be put in a lot of times, but hopefully we're slowly but surely getting out of it. I'm about ready to move on out of it full speed ahead.
We'll work through it.
We'll work through it though. We're getting better, and we're learning a little bit more, every day, aren't we, Elizabeth? We are. We're learning a little bit more every day, and, that's a good thing, because, once as each hurdle, it's getting a little better, and, so I'm looking forward to when we come back, maybe after the first of the year, be a lot of things different, so. Anyway, at this time, I will accept nominations for the board vice chair.
Board Chair, I'd like to nominate Brian Biggs as co-chair.
Okay, Brian Biggs has been nominated for vice chair. Are there any more nominations for vice chair? With no more nominations, at this time I'll close nomination for board vice chair. And is there a motion to close the nominations? You don't have to, okay. All right.
Yeah, you don't have to, since there's only one, you would ask for a motion to appoint.
Okay, so do I have a motion to appoint Brian Biggs as vice chair?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second? I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Brian, you're vice chair. Congratulations. I guess the same goes as with for me. Hey, we're gonna go through this thing one more time together, and we're gonna come out on head, okay?
That's right.
All right. So, we move on. I need a motion to approve the November 2nd, 2021, and the November 15th, 2021 minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. At this time, we're going to move to the public comments. We have one person signed up tonight, Jonathan Matson? Yes, I got it right, didn't I?
You got it.
All right, good deal. It's your first time up, ain't it, or second? First, second, right, I got you.
Second time. But yeah, so
Welcome.
I just wanted to wish you all Merry Christmas, and may you find room in your hearts for the baby Jesus. And also congratulate you on, it seems like things are turning around. I'll say that first day of no mask mandate, it was like a school holiday for my kids. They were so excited to go to school and be normal. And so keep going in that direction. Actually, we work on this bus mask mandate, but take what we can get. And go forward from there. Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, real quick, I want to say something about just, if I may. You know, when we first started this thing, a lot of us, we didn't all agree, okay? And even though at first we didn't agree, I do appreciate how you stop by or you come out and visit, and I respect when we talk things over and all, and that relationship, fellowship, us talking and all, I do appreciate that, okay? Thank you. Okay, at this time, we need a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're gonna move on to the information items with Dr. Gainey.
Okay, board members have several information items tonight, and then Ms. Waddell has some, Todd Lowe has one, and Bill Brinkley has one. First information I have tonight is a gift. On the 12th of November, I received an email from Katie Henderson. She received a gift from the Golders Lions Club in the amount of $300 to be used for student needs during the holidays. I accepted this gift on the 12th of November due to the value of the gift. It is an information item tonight because it is $5,000 or less per Rural Policy 8220, and the email from Katie Henderson is attached for your reference. Also, on the 23rd of November, Debbie Sharon emailed me about a gift for Franklin Elementary School from Hanks Lodge in the amount of $1,000. It was unrestricted in its use, so the school has flexibility to determine what use with the use of this funds. I accepted this gift on November 23rd as well because of the board policy and the fact that it was $5,000 or less. A copy of that email is attached for your reference as well. So just wanted to make you aware of those two gifts that have come in. And board members, sometimes we'll get gifts that come in as the board agenda is already out. In fact, next board meeting, I will be bringing you a gift that we received today that will require your approval because of the dollar figure being over $5,000. So I have several that appear today. So just wanted you to know why you may, when you see some things like the November 12th, it may have been too close to the board meeting at that point. So this concludes my gift presentation. Kathy, if you would, we'll bring the grants. Also, board members know that grants are under the same policy, 8220, and they are under the dollar limitations as far as what we can accept. When we get these, like the two gifts I just presented, I'll email the principals when they make me aware of them. And if it's $5,000 or less, I do tell them they can go ahead and use those. Now, the one that came in today, the principal will have to wait till we get past the next board meeting and your approval.
Good evening, board members. First, let me take this opportunity to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from the Curriculum and Instruction Department.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I bring to you tonight 3 information items. The first one is a grant to Southeastern Randolph Middle School in the amount of $2,000 for girls' soccer uniforms. Lorraine Calicut, the PE teacher, is responsible for this grant. The second grant tonight is for Southwestern Randolph Middle School. It is a Bright Ideas grant in the amount of $427. Cynthia Neal, who is a science and social studies teacher there, is responsible for this grant. And it deals with the project that they're going to do through NASA. And the final grant I bring comes from Universal Leaf Foundation. It is for Wheatmore High School. It supports the, it is received as a Carolina Agriculture Education Grant, Supervised Ag Experience. The grant amount is $1,000, and it is to buy livestock for the school farm. Caroline, I hope I pronounced her name right, Caroline Hampton is the ag teacher there, and she's responsible for procuring this grant and submitting this document tonight. Are there any questions?
Ms. Waddell,
Yes.
you left out a real important word on that second grant going to Southwest Randolph Middle School.
What should I say?
Is it tomato spear?
Yeah, that's
Tomato sphere, yes.
Tomato spear, I'd love to have, just hear
A
what.
tomato
what-
spear?
Yeah. It's-
I don't know
I'd love
what
to have
the,
what NASA doing with
I
that.
don't know what Tomato Sphere is going to do. What I do know is that Iwari has been engaged in a NASA grant at that school for a while. And they grow things, Mr. Burgess, in the room with some lights. So that's about all I can tell you. But I will do my research and do a better job.
Well, no,
Yes, sir.
I'd love to have the I guess whoever this, Miss Neal?
Cynthia Neal,
Yeah, Miss
yes.
Neal did that. I'd love to have her report to us as to what that is.
Talk to you about it.
Yeah. Educate the uneducated over here.
I know, Miss Neal.
Maybe a big secret operation.
I'll have her send you some information about the tomato spirit.
I meant to ask you, Dan, leadership, how to say that word, and I figured before the day was over, I was gonna get an email from somebody.
All right, thank you.
Ty, you ready?
Yes.
Good evening, board members. Tonight we have one contract on our report. Per board policy 6420, the Randolph County School System has entered into the following contracts and 4 contract amendments approved by the superintendent, and these would total $50,000 or more than $50,000. So tonight, Learning.com is the vendor, and this was K-8 digital literacy subscription, $77,737.50. I will tell you that this was additional state funding specifically for this reason. So any questions about that?
How tough?
It is for all, I'm pretty sure Kathy, it is for all K through 8 schools, students. So it is teaching them literacy, teaching them to read, but through digital content or through a digital platform.
Okay, 8 schools, including the virtual academy. It's involved in it.
And I think this came, Kathy and I were talking, we think this funding came about, was generated more because of what's happened the last 19 months with the digital literacy. And just know, board members, remember, if this had been 90,000 or more, this contract would have been, per that board policy, would have come as a single contract and had to be approved.
How long is it? How, a year?
It is a yearly subscription, I believe.
So that's 77,000 a year.
And it came kind of lined up, you had to use it for this purpose.
Yeah, that's the only thing you could use it for. Okay,
Thanks, Todd.
thanks.
Good evening, board members. The Randolph County School System has been approached about naming the new greenhouse building at Trinity High School after Paul Guthrie. Paul Guthrie served in many roles in Randolph County in support of Trinity High School and our school system as a whole, such as agricultural teacher at Trinity High School, member of the Randolph County Board of Education, member of the Trinity City Council, and member of the Archdale Trinity Chamber of Commerce. The request is to name the new greenhouse building the Paul Guthrie Greenhouse. Per Board Policy 9300, naming facilities, the Board of Education will not take action on the request until the next board meeting. A copy of the Board Policy 9300 and a copy of the request from the community member is attached for your review. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have about the naming request.
I served with, I served with Paul on the board a few years ago. And, Paul, he would be so happy. I mean, that's what made Trinity Greenhouse, Trinity Ag Program and all. He was one of the first ones, and I guess started it from the ground up. But, he's a good man, and I hope, maybe when we do that, maybe his wife would be able, or something, we could recognize her. Paul and I used to go, or we would go to Trinity graduation or something, but every year or several years, but there would always be a student that would come out after graduation, one of their kids would graduate, and then come up to Mr. Guthrie and say, you know, without you, I probably wouldn't be here today. You know, you got me, you helped me get through school, or you made such a difference in my life. And because Paul, you know, you've got your super smart, you know, but Paul, he was there for the rest of the kids, and always special guy. And he didn't like to drive to board meetings, so he would ride with me a lot. So I'll never forget probably some really good advice he gave me. You know, when I first came on the board, I thought, my gosh, I was afraid to say anything. I was with what I thought was like, they're a lot smarter than I ever will be on the board. And, so we were riding home one night, and, I really wanted to say something really bad, you know, and anyway, Paul says, look, you might be a pretty good board member one day if you learn to say what you're thinking. And, he said, you might just have a good idea sometime. So, you know, I never forgot that, but I'm tickled to death that we're gonna do this for him.
Thank you, board members.
And board members, that'll come back as an action item in January. Dale and Larry and Randy Wilson, David Cross, Kathy, Larry Chappell, been involved with the financing piece of this greenhouse, and I think we've taken out the old greenhouse that's replacing. That happened last week, and the concrete pad's ready to be poured. Is that correct, Larry? So looking forward to seeing the new greenhouse go up.
I hear they're high tech now, they changed a lot, haven't they? I mean, that's what I think. Okay, so moving on, we need a motion to approve the consent items.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we're gonna move on to the action items. Dr. Denny?
Okay, Mr. Cook, board members, last week, a resolution was shared from Union County Board of Education. It came to superintendents and shared that with you and the board chair and vice chair, talked to them about adding this. They felt like we would like to add this as another move to advocate for what we want, which is we want to be able to send home-only deposits. We're not there at this point, but we want to continue to advocate for that. And as I've said in other comments and other meetings, back in March of 2021, that conversation was being had by me of, well, can we get to that? Can we get to that? So want to pass out this resolution. Thank you, Ms. Troutman, our attorney, for putting this together and making it specific to the Randolph County Board of Education. Can they load it? It should be loaded at this point on the screen. Did they not? Can we get it loaded? Just give 1 second. You don't have it connected, do you?
I do not.
Okay. Is it there now? Beverly, can you forward, can you send my email to her?
Yeah, I'm sending it to Beverly right now.
Okay. Just give us 1 second, folks. This was finalized this afternoon, so.
I think a few school systems are starting to do these resolutions, right?
Well, I know that we saw it out of.
Union County.
Yeah, we saw it out of Union County. That's what was shared.
And I know over the past 2 weeks, Dr. Denny, I know you've called Raleigh and tried to, we really all want the same thing. We want to send just the positives home. And we're kind of held hostage on that, the way the ruling is. But I know we talked earlier today, and if ever, and we're working on a plan, and when we come back from Christmas break, our plan is to hopefully have our hands completely out of the mix of quarantine, sending people home. We won't be making that call. It'll be through the local health department. And isn't that correct, Elizabeth? I mean, when we come back, that's our
Sorry,
goal.
I was working with Beverly.
She wasn't listening to you.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm just saying, I was, when we come back after Christmas break, if everything goes as like we're working on a plan that, we will not be, we'll be doing what we do here, our school business. The other be handled completely through the health department, is that right, Cindy?
Yeah, so the plan is for the communications and a lot of the contact tracing work to be done through collaboration with the health department, starting in January when people return. The school system will still have to identify, provide information to those folks.
But it stops there instead of us doing all the other work, right? That's the plan, mostly, right?
That's
Okay, thank you.
So while she's getting that ready, this resolution is really similar to the one that the Union County Board of Education adopted, but their resolution was joined with the county, and so it discussed health measures that the county has control over, and so this is revised to reflect the fact that you're focused on education.
And this will go,
You all can send it wherever you want to send
we'll
it.
send it where we send all the legislators and everybody, right?
Send it to the whole world.
All right. Beverly, get that out to as many people as you can. We'll make a list. Start everybody in Raleigh.
Make sure we have the right email address for the health department.
I think they can, they can receive emails now.
Okay, if not, we run across the
Yeah,
hall.
that is one thing we fixed, the email issue.
All right, I think we got it now.
This time I'm going to read through it. You have it on the screen there, we can all look at it. Resolution is support of in-person instruction and ending the requirement to exclude healthy students from school. And I want this, I think we'll send it to the health department, we'll send it to our legislators, the governor, everyone else we can find in the state health department. Whereas the Randolph County Board of Education is committed to protecting the health of all students and staff in the Randolph County school system and to maintain consistently high standards of student learning and social development. Whereas the Randolph County community and parents have entrusted the provision of excellent school-based academic and social outcomes for Randolph County children to the Randolph County Board of Education. Whereas the data and the evidence consistently and strongly support in-person learning as the best method for all students to achieve excellence in academic outcomes. Whereas the data and the evidence consistently and strongly demonstrate that students who are engaged in in-person learning have superior social and psychological outcomes over those students who are sporadically, suddenly, and repeatedly excluded from school due to COVID-19 control measures. Whereas the data and the evidence consistently and strongly demonstrate that students who are sporadically, suddenly, and repeatedly excluded from school due to COVID-19 control measures have a decreased academic performance, increased behavioral issues, and suffer emotional and psychological effects from the isolation and removal from peers. Whereas the large-scale impact of COVID-19 on millions of North Carolinians makes contact tracing and exclusionary control measures unduly burdensome for school staff, significantly detrimental to the school environment, and highly disruptive to North Carolina families, schools, students, schools, and employers. Whereas the practice of excluding children from in-person student learning imposes substantial costs on employers, special burdens on parents, and is especially detrimental to single parents, legal guardians, and working parents and guardians. Whereas the practice of excluding school staff from in-person instruction and supervision imposes substantial costs and loss of learning due to diminished pools of available substitute teachers, instructional assistants, and building level administrators. Whereas in light of the development and widespread availability of other effective measures of disease control for COVID-19, such as vaccinations, testings, and other treatments, contact tracing, and exclusion from school have been diminished in their utility as a primary and efficient mitigation measure for disease control. Whereas the presence of COVID-19 in our state and county is likely to persist well into the future without a known defined end. And whereas the Randolph County Board of Education will work diligently to safely, lawfully, and effectively end exclusion of healthy, asymptomatic students and staff from school beginning January 19, 2022, to minimize the number of missed instructional days to achieve grade promotion. Now, therefore, in consideration of these and other relevant matters, the Randolph County Board of Education hereby calls on the state of North Carolina, the North Carolina Commission for Public Health, and the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services to take whatever actions are necessary to end the requirement that healthy asymptomatic individuals be excluded from school on or before January 19, 2022.
Okay, with that being said, any comments?
Well, I think this is something that parents and people come up the whole time. People's been in the bind the whole time. Many parents in this room, but trying to work. We had one parent that was quarantined 3 times so far, and they had, finally one mother, you had no place, daycares were shut down early on, couldn't send their kids anywhere. And this is one step that we've got to take, and you say, well, there's no need to do a resolution, no need to say that. Well, we need to speak out, let people know where we stand at, and let the state governments know where we stand at, and we're tired of being their whipping boy, because they should take over and take charge of this stuff and stop putting it on the school system. That's just something I can say.
Yeah, I even went a step farther the other night. I asked Elizabeth, I said, can we just sue them? Can we take action against them? That's where I'm at. If it doesn't clear up, I'm ready to do whatever it takes, because it's just ridiculous that they've done the kind of business that they have. It's just totally ridiculous. And it's what we're dealing with, a bunch of clueless people with no common sense. Okay, so.
Why wait till the 19th? Todd's got it.
Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah,
Why wait till January 19th?
why wait till January 19th?
This is something that we should be doing now. It should be something that we should be letting these people know now. The thing is, it's not like they don't know, they know. They know.
We come around that.
This piece of paper, I don't know what good it's going to do, but
We need to know now.
It says exactly what we think, though.
I don't know now.
and I think they already know that.
I know, but.
It's just that they're not willing to do anything. Nobody else in our community has to do anything besides the school system, and that's it.
January 19th, that's in the semester, is that what that is?
Yeah.
That's the date the Union County resolution uses. There's,
Probably the end of semester, I bet.
yeah, exactly. So you may want to coordinate with them, I don't know, but there's no particular.
If a lot of school systems do this, maybe, I tell you, the fix. The real fix is these school systems join together and they do this, and then when that date's up, you know what, you can say to them, you just do it. Hey, there's no way they can come and get all of us. I would say you know what I would say, but I'm not gonna say it, but say the heck with you, that's exactly what I would say.
Here, here.
That's what we need to do.
Does a little bit like what Todd says, does this have any teeth to it, really, Elizabeth?
It does not effectively change the rule.
Right.
It's their rule, so it's an advocacy.
And in the rule, they basically puts principals and superintendents in like a bad way, doesn't it? It calls them out, is that correct? Did I not see that, like on contact tracing and stuff? The way they word things, that there's almost sleek in the way they did it. They did it to include people that would make it hard for boards to just throw everything aside, because you would be putting people's careers in jeopardy, because that's who they would kind of come to first. Am I right in that? Sort of?
Well, the control measures are imposed on individuals in the state of North Carolina, and then the information and reporting is imposed directly on school principals. So those obligations attach to school officials, regardless of what the Board of Education policy might say. It's just, there's statutory requirements. So you could not simply say, oh, you know, we don't want to follow the statute or the control measures anymore because they're imposed on individuals by statute.
Me personally, it's one I think, and I appreciate it. We've had some tough board meetings. We've had some tough conversations from that podium before. But you know, a lot of these things that have come from that podium are in this resolution. And I think it's important, you know, some people want people kicked out of boardrooms. I don't know if y'all know in different counties, they don't allow like 15 people in their board meetings. That's all they allow. And they don't want people in there. But I think just like a lot of you parents and different ones that spoke out, I think it's very important, even though they know where we stand, that we tell them where we stand at. I think it's very important. Because if you don't speak out, nothing's ever going to change. Just like a lot of you have, you spoke out. And you can't, we've got to tell them in writing, here's what we believe. Because if we just assume that they know what we're thinking, we're not ever going to get anywhere. I think it is important. I think this resolution is important. We can tweak it some, we can tweak dates, and we can tweak verbiage if you want to, but you got to let people know where you stand. You got to put it in writing. It's like, Fred, we're in business all the time. If you want to send somebody something, you get them to sign a contract, you send an email. Why do you send that email? Because you got a paper trail. And we know, here's where we were. And I think I wish we'd have did this a year ago, but we're here and now we're doing it. So I think it's important to tell people where you're at.
I'm not against it by any means, of course. I mean, I think when I put it 1st of January rather than January 19th.
I do right when we come back.
But, you know, and I know, Elizabeth, we had this conversation, I still have not seen anything that says we have to do the contact tracing for the health department. I think we've been doing their job for quite a few months now.
Too long.
So, and it seems like they changed Brian, you said verbiage, they changed the verbiage where it used to say quarantine, and now it says exclude. So
Health department.
they have, with the toolkit, I guess, you know, stuff like that. But, so, I just want to make sure I understand this right. So if a student is exposed, then they're excluded from school. We're saying we don't exclude them, we're saying that the health department technically excludes them. Is that correct?
No, the school system has the obligation to exclude them because that is a control measure adopted by the state and directed towards the school
So
system.
who tells us to exclude those students?
The state.
The local
The
health
commission,
department
the
has
Commission
nothing to do
for
with
Public Health adopted the control measure of CDC guidance.
Are you talking about quarantine, the exposures?
it. Now, I'm talking about this,
The requirement to exclude students from school is a control measure. And what a control measure is something adopted by, it's called the Commission for Public Health, state agency, that directs, it could direct businesses, it could direct individuals, but in the case of exclusion, it directs school systems to exclude students from
Right.
school.
And who tells us who those students are? We do? We tell ourselves, basically?
We follow their directives on
So what is the
identifying
local
close
health department,
contacts.
what is the local health department does then? I mean, if they don't exclude anybody, and they don't tell us to exclude anybody, they don't tell us who to exclude, what is it that the local health department does?
What are they doing to help us?
Well, they have provided a great deal of direction on, how to identify and who to exclude, and the school system works really closely with them on that. But when people say contact tracing, they're really referring to looking at the whole case of any person who has COVID-19, and that's the health department's role, is to do full contact tracing. We only just identify folks within our setting, but people go all over the county, right?
All right, so
We're just identifying positives, though, right? Are we identifying the people that we think are in proximity to the positive?
We identify the positives, and then the health directives are to provide information that they want to help determine who is a close contact.
How do we identify positives? Because they have got to somehow receive a test. So how do we identify a positive?
individuals report?
We've had self-reporting. We also get, at times, we get reports from the health department, but a lot of times, by the time we get those of who are positives, because maybe someone tested at a doctor's office or an urgent care, or maybe at the health department, we'll get a list of who is positive, but most times by the time we get that list, we've already been made aware of it because our parents have been so.
What do they provide you to prove that it was a positive?
The list. We mean the
parent, what does the parent provide?
Give you a test result?
We've not, no, we don't
don't
ask
get
them for
nothing.
test
They just call
results.
and say
They
they're
just call and
positive.
say, hey, Johnny's got COVID, he's gonna be home.
Yeah.
We need test results.
And that call should be coming from the health department.
Exactly, yeah. Even though,
Not
from
the
my
parent.
understanding, it's like, it may be, I mean, I think we've been notified by the health department that such kid was positive, and we have excluded that kid for 10 to 14 days, whatever it is. The kid is back at school, and now we've been told by the health department, how far behind they are.
We've had situations where by the time the notification came, because remember, it has to go from maybe if the person was tested at a doctor's office, it may take time for it to get to the health department. So yes, we've had cases over the last 19 months where we've already acted because of the self-report from the parent. I mean, I don't think we've not had the cases of people calling and saying, my child's positive and they're not. No, we haven't sensed that.
But, okay, when the parent lets you know there's a positive case, but at that point, we're identifying as a school system who has been exposed to them and sending those kids home.
Yes.
Even though we don't know for sure that kid was positive. We're sending home all these other kids in proximity.
What do you think's gonna, let's go with this, okay, there was a meeting Friday with you and the county attorney and the head of the health department, and I think you were in on it too. Okay, we were hoping that meeting would have took place like 3 or 4 days after our last board meeting, but between the mega site and a few other issues to get everybody together on their end, that's kind of where we are, so they had the meeting. And there was something that come up during that meeting about a company or something that actually works with the health department, but if I understand correctly, we thought we had to go in and find out more information or see if we under contract or whatever. But you found out earlier today that if we'd have known about it, we could have been going that route 2 or 3 months ago, and our hands would have been completely out of all this already. Am I correct? Sort of. If you can explain that a little bit. I mean, I'm thinking it's not going to be perfect, but I'm thinking if we get out of the business ourselves, completely out of it, and put it on the health department, because at best, well, I won't go there, but I'm thinking this company is I just don't think they're going to be able to do everything as thorough as we've been doing it. I just don't see how it could be possible. That's just my thoughts, and maybe that'll benefit us. But what happened, Elizabeth? And there's one more thing out there, if you'll go on with that so the board will know, and we'll be transparent. There's something possibly coming up. Dr. Kane, you might can explain that through, I think, Duke University or something.
I have a meeting tomorrow with, it's called Test to Stay, and, but that only, just the information I have at this point is it would work with kids, I mean, the exposures, but I don't know exactly, I've not met with them meetings tomorrow to see what all that entails. The only thing I don't like, what I've seen so far, is if we engage in that process, it would be a way to keep the child who doesn't have a symptom on campus if we qualify for that, but it only goes for 4 weeks based on the information I saw, so we'd only have 4 weeks of that unless something changes. That will be a question I will be asking. Just as another option of what the issue is here. The issue is and continues to be the child who is not, or the staff member who is not showing symptoms going on. That continues to be the issue that we all wrestle with We wrestled with it all night Friday night in multiple conversations. It's almost a daily discourse, so.
Let me explain that other real quick.
Yeah, so, the CT, every time I say it, there's too many C's. CCTC is an organization that contracts with the health department to do contact tracing, and they're already doing contact tracing in other arenas, and so they're able to embed people within the school system to conduct the contact tracing and communications, and they work through the health department to do that. So we're working with them to get that set up before, or when folks come back from the holiday break.
They would be on our campus?
No, they wouldn't, my understanding, they would not be on our campus.
No,
but there would be a
no,
point
just
where we
when I
could-
say embed, I just mean work closely with, be dedicated to
Yeah, I wouldn't
the
want them on
school
our campus.
system's
Well, that-
contact tracing efforts, as opposed to doing, the whole.
But they can't do, I mean, Gary, you say, oh, we're gonna dump it over on the health department, but I don't see any way that happens because the health department does not know, I mean, they don't know anything, I shouldn't say they don't know anything, but you understand what I'm saying? They know very little whenever there's a kid test positive in our school system or a staff member test positive. Certainly don't know who's around that kid. So they're still gonna rely on us for all the information, and we say we're gonna dump it over them. We're not dumping anything.
But it looks like they haven't.
I mean, I'd love to, here, it's yours.
Well, that's exactly
See
what
you
I
next
think we
week.
need to do.
That's
I think
it.
we need to dump it over on.
Well, so the obligation to report positive and suspected cases remains with the school principal by statute. So and then the obligation to share information is imposed on school principals and all individuals. So we still have to provide information to the health department. That is not gonna change, and
So,
the shift to them is not going to change the obligation to exclude students from school. The rule doesn't change just because it's different people doing it.
Well, I mean, we're just gonna have to we're gonna have to get some help from the state. There's no way we can continue to send 400 or 500 healthy kids home. This is unbelievable. We
And there's
can't
no
do
data,
this.
and there's no data. How many of
There's
those
no
kids get
data
sick?
that
We've
gets
asked
sick.
for that data.
We
There's
didn't
no
see-
data.
Yeah, that's another thing. When kids go home, we don't,
And they're home for
You
10
don't hear
days,
anybody
and
get
they,
sick.
they come back
But-
healthy.
all right, so we say, the school system, we're saying now, excludes under the health directives. We follow the health directives that come from somewhere out in the middle of cyberspace here. They just show up. We have these health directives, and we follow these health directives to exclude healthy kids. Or, I'm sorry, exposed kids. No. Anyway, is that the way it is, Elizabeth? Because we are.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we have
All
to,
right,
we still
okay.
have to do that.
So
yes.
do the health directives exclude these same kids from going to church? Do those health directives exclude those kids from going out to eat? The same kids they're not allowed to be in the classroom with? Does those health directives exclude those kids from going to a grocery store, a department store, or any other retail store around?
I have not analyzed
Just a
the
question.
control measures in other
Huh?
contexts.
Just question.
They
Just
just
right.
can't come in a classroom.
It makes a lot of sense.
Do they exclude, do those health directives exclude them from going to a movie theater, a concert, or anything like that? Maybe even to a high school event, sporting event, in another outside our system. It sounds like the health directives, they just exclude students from being students.
Yeah.
And I'm for doing this resolution thing, but I'm gonna tell you, the resolution, well, first of all, we talk about lawsuits all the time and all that kind of stuff. To me, that sounds like the best lawsuit is from students and parents saying, you are keeping my kid from having the
Not educated.
guaranteed education that they
My healthy
for-
child.
my healthy child from doing that. And, to me, it is, actually, there was and actually it's in the, 5th paragraph down on the 5th whereas, at the end it says, suffer emotional and psychological effects from the isolation and removal from peers. I'm glad that's in there.
Yeah.
You know, there was a study, actually, I saw this over there was a study put up there, that half of school-age females and a third of the males said that they had, quote unquote, here, persistent feelings of depression and loneliness. Well, maybe it's time for the health department to start talking. We've had the worst thing happen to kids who what comes from that loneliness and that isolation happen in this county. But we haven't had a healthy kid. All I'm saying is, I think maybe it's time for the health department to worry about some of that isolation and loneliness more than worry about sending healthy kids home. And reality is, we can send this resolution, and maybe the more if we had 125 systems, whatever, something. If we had 125 systems, send something out, maybe would mean something. But what we need is the same people who stood up here at this podium, and the same people who send us emails and calls to contact the health department and the department.
They need to help us.
I think it needs to come from not just the Randolph County Board of Education, Union County Board of Education. It needs to come from the population of North Carolina. And so,
What do you think would happen if we send this resolution, we encourage these people and hope they listen tonight and they get behind us and help us? And like this date when, January the 18th or whenever it is comes, that we just, we go at it, we look at it like we're tired of this, no one's listening. What would happen if we said we're gonna send the sick kids home? We sent you our resolution, we mean business, and what's the worst thing can happen? The worst thing can happen is the school system, they would send somebody down here to try to close us down, or take over, or what would happen, because I'm thinking, they're not gonna close you down, but how can they come after you when this makes so much sense? I don't see how any court could uphold them, because they're running on no common sense at all. What do you think? What's the worst thing that could happen to us? We send a resolution, you know what? We say on,
January 27th.
and we could even take a stand. We encourage other school systems on January 19th, let's go back and do it, since what would happen to us if we just said we're tired of playing your game? We're gonna take a stand in Randolph County, and we hope Union and Davidson and Rockingham and all these other counties, what would happen if they all stood up? What are they gonna do? It's like all your workers walk off the job, what are you gonna do? We're tired of it. What would happen, Elizabeth, in your opinion?
Well, the state could bring in, the Secretary of Health and Human Services could bring in an abatement action, which is in their province. And that kind of action would shut down the school, because it would, the argument would be that, it's unsafe conditions, that the disease is
Could we get a local court to, who could file like an injunction on our behalf or something, that claiming that, you guys are causing kids like Fred said? Couldn't we stand on that and try to, if somebody don't take a
We're stopping
stand.
kids from getting an
Yeah,
education.
you're stopping them, you're causing suicides and all this stuff. What would happen if we just took a stand? You're never gonna know that somebody takes a stand. It's like they're bullying us.
So assuming that the control measures have not changed, your action and direction doesn't have any legal force or effect, because it's the law in North Carolina, in the state, and so you can't ask principals who have the statutory obligations, or other individuals in the school system who have the statutory obligations, to go counter to this statute. You just don't have that authority.
Who do we contact, or what kind of suit do we bring to challenge the statute? Who would we go to?
So I think this would be a discussion better done in closed session, since it is attorney-client privilege.
Elizabeth, can you share with us either now or at least maybe at least the next day or two as far as the statute? Because I still have not seen the statute that says that we have to do the contact tracing and that we have to exclude that as far as the extra statute.
Did you get my memo?
Yeah, it's in there.
Yes, in there, you have to identify.
You know, the nerve of, I mean, I know, Dr. Ken, you called Raleigh, last week? What, 2 or 3 times? Or you talked to 2 or 3 people trying to, I guess, why can't we just send the sick kids home, basically? And it's like you get chased around a tree, I mean.
Yeah, and like I said, this was a discussion that I was having in March of '21, based on our data. So I would like to have that opportunity, but we've not been able to do this one, so.
You know, this stuff could just keep going on and on and on until we try to put some common sense in and use what we've learned and try to treat it like something like the flu. This is just an open-ended thing that just could keep on for years.
Yes.
Push it and shut down the schools. Then parents will get pissed off and they'll show up here and
It's not, you know, some people say it's going away. This problem's not going away. When we're sending 500 kids home a week, that's not going away. That's a problem. That's a problem. That's not right.
Well, kids.
Yeah, we can't keep hoping, keep our head in the sand and say, well, this is gonna go away, it's gonna fix itself. It's not gonna fix itself. We're gonna have to fix it.
Okay.
But, you know, I mean, still on the statute, it does not say in the statute, it starts talking about you have to be within if you're within 6 feet for 15 minutes and all that. But then it says you go back to, just gives you the guidance of the CDC. Well, guidance is not a statute.
Right, so the the statute grants authority to the Commission for Public Health to adopt control measures. They adopted the control measure of the CDC guidance. So it says guidance of the CDC, but they've adopted that as a control measure.
That's still not a statute. If it's just a control measure set forth. It's not a legal statute.
Yeah, and there's nothing to keep them from changing the control measure, the guidance, whatever you want to call it, from 6 feet to 1.5 feet tomorrow, or from being in the same country with them.
Right, the legislature has granted the authority to that commission to adopt control measures. So yes, they can adopt the control measures.
So we have a statute
they want to adopt.
we have a statute that grants authority to a unelected bureaucratic entity to decide what that is, and they can change it at any time.
Anytime.
And the statute says whatever they say,
We do.
come, that makes perfect sense.
It all makes a lot of sense, I'm telling you.
I'm kind of with Gary that I would push him, and I would welcome the fight from someone to show us an abatement.
I kind of like that, I mean, I'm ready to, I'm just telling you, as long as we sit back and,
I'm fine with the resolution.
I'm
but
fine
I
with
think,
that, but they have the resolution, put it out there.
I think we-
You know what, if they ignore us like they've ignored Dr. Danny calling Raleigh, they ignored me calling Raleigh, and yeah, we're gonna get back and never heard another daggone thing. Well, you know what? But you know what? They can come to, they can put us off, you know, mega site, I'm sure that's gonna be a great thing, but they can put us off for nearly a month while they're planning on that big day. But it doesn't matter, the school system. You know, we're just way down there, but you know what? We represent the most important thing out there. Most important
Our
thing,
future.
the future.
Yes.
So
it's
you know
a
what?
future.
If we don't take a stand for our
Mega
future,
sites are going,
I mean, you know,
we don't have a future.
and It just pisses me off, to be quite frank.
Yeah, that's good. Yes, Sheriff says the mega sites. Susan, almost said Susan. Sheriff says the mega site don't mean anything, and that's the thing. All 529 potentially healthy students that we sent home this week could have went out there to that big, thing with all the bureaucrats saying, look how wonderful we are, we're getting ready to build this mega site. And been no problem with
They can
that.
go anywhere but in a classroom.
Anywhere but in a class.
Hey, Fred, Dr. Ganey actually went out there, and, guess they taught, I think, we noticed it, but they were in a tent.
I know.
They were in a closed spot, but even our governor didn't have on a mask.
I know.
They didn't have on a mask, none of them.
380 people in
Yeah.
4 minutes.
So I guess we're gonna put it on those kids, or we're gonna send you home. Bull crap.
Choir or in the school system.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's put a date on it, and then we'll deal with, what we're gonna date, but I do wanna make one, if we said, what was the number, 549 potentially healthy people? Possibly, healthy, because you know what, they won't tell us they're sick later on, so we're gonna call them healthy every day until they tell us they're sick, okay? I mean, if the health department can't track how many of these kids and staff members are positive later on, what makes you think they're gonna
They can't handle that much, they can't handle it, I'm telling you, they can't handle it.
The only time that they're enforcing this is in schools.
Yeah,
They should have plenty of
absolutely. They
time,
can't
but they're not
handle
doing it in
If it wasn't
businesses
for
or
Dr.
anything else
Ganey last year
anymore.
doing their job, they would've been in a heck of a mess, I'm telling you.
All right.
All right,
Good, we leave this the 19th
Today?
and the 9th.
Okay, okay.
just leave it at 19th, especially if we're looking at something else.
What date's our next board meeting in January?
Yeah.
The 10th? I say the 9th then. So, because if we want to do something, we gave them that deadline, we haven't heard anything from them, so if we want to do something different.
Fine with that.
What you're saying is, so we're, well, if we're gonna be in school on the 10th, so we don't have confusion on the 10th. Yeah, good, remember last time
Yeah, I understand.
we had something, when we went optional, we had the 15th in that board meeting, so why don't we say the 10th? That's just throw that out, suggestion, just so there's not confusion about what to do on the 10th.
Elizabeth, how are the other 113 school districts getting this Union County resolution, do you know?
It went through the School Boards Association listserv to all superintendents and board chairs by request of the Union County Board of Education.
It was on the link in that paragraph, there was one link in there, because first time I saw the emails, I couldn't figure out what, and then the link was, it wasn't real big.
Well, we
So
can
you
send ours to
all could make a
113
similar
systems.
request, yeah.
I think we should.
I think we should.
So what I'm hearing board members say, what I'm hearing board members say is, we sign this tonight, and then we need to do what Union County did, and ask the School Board Association to send it to all. That's what you're
I'd rather
saying.
send it to
Yeah, but.
Well, yeah, that's not the only place.
I don't, yeah,
But
they can send it.
but Beverly, could you help, like, could we send this to, as this board wants to send it to all the school districts?
We can do
Board
it.
chair?
We can
Can we
do
not
it.
do that? Let's do it through them, and we want all of them to join in, let's take a stand.
All right, but back to the date. So let's make sure what we're talking about though is, when I was saying whatever, 9th to 10th, I was saying that I don't want to come back in here on the 10th and say, well, we told them, you know, we got another 9 days, and then, you know, it's another month before we get back together. So I think, you know, there's no problem saying, that way, if we're going to do something, what Elizabeth would call radical, if we're going to do something like that, then, we need to decide, be able to talk about it on the 10th.
I like 10th.
But if nothing's done, what you're saying on the 10th, we're gonna consider just sending sick, healthy kids and
I mean,
challenging them.
all this is a deadline, is all we're giving them here, right? Am I correct in saying all this is a deadline?
So won't something, because
That's correct.
All this is a deadline. And if anybody expects it to be met by the
we won't have to.
January 10th, you're wrong, we're gonna know that, we all know that, so, okay.
So on the 10th, there'll be a directive for staff, is that what you're telling me, on that board meeting night? Is that correct? Or you may-
We're
This
headed that way.
resolution does not actually change any policy. It's just a request that these state agencies respond by the deadline. So you all would meet on the 10th and discuss again
Yeah, because we
what
can't,
you want to do.
we can't require the schools to do anything unless we change that board policy.
That's right. Or the state
Yeah.
law.
Well, I mean, I think with everything we've done and all the reaching out, and I know you being our legal advisor, it would be hard for you to agree with this. I mean, I get that. Now, in your heart, you might be thinking yes, but I know you're, and maybe even you, Dr. Gang. I mean, you have, your role as a superintendent, as your professional career, I get that, and I understand that completely. You are bound by maybe different set of rules sometimes. You may not in your heart, I think you think just like we do. You want to, I know you think like we do. I mean, you get battered a lot, but I know what you really think deep down. You want to send the sick kids home and keep these other kids in school. It would be a challenge that you would enjoy, I know that.
I think, in conversation, I'm probably not the only one. And, the question that I would direct back is that most of the time after I've made calls and talked, is when I've, that, it hadn't come from, go make the call, taking periods of time to make and say, okay, have we gone far enough to maybe we can get some traction here, because we've gone 2 or 3 more weeks, and especially when our numbers went low. But I think my desire is indicated by comments I made in board meetings, and including about the conversations back in March of 2021, when I saw our positives start going down big time. We had 9, I think, the week after spring break last year. I think that was the number. I may be off a number or so, but when we started going down, and I really felt like when our numbers started going down prior to what's happened the last couple of weeks, with our number of cases have shot up, and that's very parallel to what happened right at the beginning of the school year, when our number of positive cases shot up. So, no, I'm not going to disagree with you that I would love to see that as an option, because I believe that it would work. That's in my heart, I believe it would work. So hopefully we can get some more attention on this and get this over the finish line, because I don't disagree with any of you. 549 kids, a lot of kids to be sitting at home.
Healthy.
And last Monday night, as I was in my office, I counted Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and it went, I'm probably off a little bit, but in my first count Saturday, late Monday night, was already had sent 66 home those 3 days combined for what was the new week of the process. So, yeah, I'm troubled as well.
And we make them stay home 10 days. They can't take up
And the problem is,
rapid test and come back.
the biggest problem is, or not the biggest problem, but a big problem is, and I know Dr. King, you can't do it, you've got staff, our busy, but we have no data on how many of those kids that we send home are actually ever getting sick. I mean, we never get any data on that. You would think the health department, if they were that concerned with it, they'd follow up with those kids. And then find out, like Fred was saying, what athletic events are you going to? Where are you going? But they don't follow up with those kids. We have no idea if 549 of them are probably healthy. And that's probably the case.
And they can go
Yeah,
anywhere but in a classroom.
Yeah, I was there the other night in a basketball gymnasium, and we had Randall, Southwest Randolph, Trinity, and Wheatmore all in the same gym. And nobody's gonna get quarantined from that, wall to wall, standing against the wall, and nobody's gonna say anything. And it's amazing, but we need the data. If I would really like to have that data, find out how many kids they say are exposed or actually ever coming down with COVID-19. I think it'd be very low, if any.
And now that we've made masks optional, there are not a lot of people wearing masks in schools.
No.
Not a lot at all.
Well, what's complicated the last couple of weeks is the number of positives, for whatever reason, have spiked again. And that's complicated, and it just took off.
Are you guys confused a little bit about that? I mean, you hear the talk about, I'm really confused about it, because I'm beginning to think, what the heck are we in? I mean, you talk about it, you get your vaccines, we got kids can get vaccines, the numbers are really gonna come down, things will get better. And about the time you start to come down, there's another variant out there, you know? I mean, and I mean, I think
But that's
there's
panic.
another one waiting. I tell you what,
It's panic pedal, because now they're saying the new variant.
they're creating this
is very-
mess. I think
Yeah.
we're living in a war we don't know how to fight.
Well, they're saying now the symptoms are so mild, you don't even know you have it, the new variant, but they panic.
It's just crazy.
They're panicking about it.
I think there's a couple of evil doctors out there working for the money. It's bad. All right, so I think we go with this, this is a start, okay? We come back January the 10th, is that correct, Fred? Is that kind of what you're saying? And then,
10th by 6:30
Yeah.
p.m.
yeah. Game on, Connie. Game on.
Beverly, we've got that. We've got,
Yeah, let's see these outlaw school systems.
would you make that
So,
change?
so
You've already
you
changed
still have not adopted the resolution,
We're gonna
just
adopt
as
it.
a reminder.
I need a motion, do we have a motion to adopt this resolution of, the support
With,
of
and I think you would say
in-person
with the
instruction, the
change-
ending of the requirement to exclude healthy students from school?
With the date change.
With the date change, that's right, January the 10th, 2022.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Send it to every school system.
Now, board members, just know that we are going to continue to work on the other thing that Ms. Troutman and I have been working on, which we're trying to get the identification of the close contacts. Yeah, that takes time, but I'll tell you something else that takes a lot of time from my staff is all the phone calls that are being made. And that's what we're hoping to gain from the process we're looking at with the group. So
You won't have to make any phone calls, is that correct?
we're hoping that's how this thing lands. But then that could change on January 10th as well.
See, we want you back in the superintendent seat. We're working for kids, not for the health department.
Absolutely.
That's what we want.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know what? Have they paid you anything? I didn't think so.
On one of these 549 healthy students that we send home, if they have a negative test, can they come back? They cannot come back.
They've never adjusted that rule that if you get exposed, you're out.
So a positive test can send me home, but a negative test
Can't
can't
bring
send
you
me
back,
back.
can't bring you back, not within 10 days.
They've never.
Can't send a healthy kid back.
Can't send a healthy kid back,
That's right.
yes.
A healthy negative kid back, no, not before 10 days.
I don't even see how you can pay off a judge to rule that way. I mean, really,
You
I
can't
don't
make
know.
this stuff up, I mean,
You
it's just
might.
crazy.
You
It's
can,
just no common sense, none.
we'll be elected by,
And now flu's going around, but don't worry about the flu.
no, flu's no problem. Okay, so we're gonna move on. I bet you're ready. You been nervous? Just a little bit? No. Elizabeth, we made you nervous?
No.
Just a little
We'll
bit.
discuss in closed session.
Okay, Todd.
You ready? Board members, we have a budget, so Todd is gonna finalize that so we can get the budget out there. We've obviously been operating under the interim budget. If we continue to do that, even though Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, the legislation to have to do that is not in place anymore, but we bring you an interim budget every June. So we have let me say this, we have had a budget flowing, but we now have finalized numbers that we can true it up, you can say, for the rest of the year.
About 5 months late, but hopefully we'll adopt one here soon. So yeah, I have another resolution for y'all to approve, but this one's gonna be easy, I promise. Would you say so? All right, so in your packet, you have the 21-22 superintendent's budget for your approval. So the first 3 pages, as we normally do, is the budget resolution. So it'll give an overview of all the funding sources, the appropriations and the revenue. So I'm gonna go through that 3-page document, and then we can look at the breakdown of the individual funds, but we probably won't spend too long on that. That's what you're approving is actually the resolution here. So we'll start with section 1. Section 1 and 2 breaks down the current expense fund appropriation and revenues. So to start the year, $28,088,656 for current expense. The way that breaks down is county appropriations, $21,506,356, estimated fines and forfeitures, $1,150,000, AT tax funding, $2,492,300, and then our Fund 8 specialized revenue, $2,940,000. So there's your $28,088,656. Sections 3 and 4, those will be our beginning state appropriations, $104,680,172.80. You see the appropriation, the revenue with the same amount. All right, this looks a little different than normal years, but sections 5 and 6 would be our federal grant appropriation and revenue. This year, $60 million, 508,727.87. That's broken down into 19 federal programs as of now. There could be some more by the end of the year. You'll see out beside some of those where you see ESSER and GEAR, ESSER 2, ESSER 3, CRRSA, ESSER. Those are, of course, all COVID funding sources. Normally, we have about $10 to $12 million in a federal budget for the year. We've got $60 million this year. Sections 7 and 8, child nutrition. $10,627,500 is our beginning appropriation. Local sources, $3,943,500. Federal funds account for $6,684,000 for your total of $10.6 million. And then finally, sections 9 and 10 would be our capital outlay, appropriation and revenue. This year, $3,109,071, $3,009,071 of that from the county commissioners, and then estimated activity bus revenue of $100,000, $3,109,071. So there you see at the bottom of the document, total annual budget to begin 21-22, $207,014,127.67. Normally that's about $150,000 or $160,000 budget, but because of the extra federal dollars, it's up to $207,000. And it'll increase a little bit throughout the year. State and federal will be a little bit of an increase. So I'm just going to go through and highlight the individual revenues, and if you come across something, just stop me and if you have a question. But on page 1, we've got the county appropriations, $21,506,356. My eyes are failing me a little bit. So that's a $992,283 increase over last year from the county commissioners. For now, I've left fines and forfeitures the same at $1,150,000. We might come up a little short of that number, but we'll see how it goes. We'll pull some revenues from somewhere else if we need to. But that's a 4.84% increase in county appropriations, which is a nice chunk of money on the increase. The next several pages, as you know, outlines the breakdown of the expenditures and the different line items. And so I'm just going to go ahead and move through these pages unless you do have a specific question. But we have our supplement increase built into that. We have our new benefit rates. Insurance jumped up a little bit more than we thought it would at the last minute there, right before they approved the budget. Retirement matching rate was a little bit lower than we expected. So those two kind of wash out a little bit in our local budget. I'm going to move on. I'm going to keep going to page 8, which starts our capital outlay revenues. $2,159,071. The $850,000 in construction capital, or the 9-year facility plan, and then, like I said, the $100,000 estimated activity bus in-house revenue. For the current capital, that was $3,355 less. They basically held us flat there, held us harmless, but they always readjust for the ADM change between us and Ashburn City. So because of the ADM shift in the percentage, we did lose $3,355 in the regular capital. appropriation. Page 9 is how the expenses break down for capital. Moving on to page 10, you'll see the child nutrition revenues, $10,627,500. We're just leaving that. That's actually the same budgeted amount as last year. And then the next 2 pages will be child nutrition expenditures. And then moving on to page 13 is the AT tax budget. Current year taxes at the .0922 tax rate. I did increase that a little bit just based on last year and then looking at pretty much the first half of this year. Should easily come in at $2,440,000 on current year revenue. That's about $140,000 more projected than last year. Bumped up prior year a little bit and held everything else the same. So that's a total budget, $2,492,300, $144,000 more than last year. And then you have 2 pages of AT tax budgeted expenses. And on that second page, you'll see the school allotments. I will make one note here. I put the total ADM up there, $4,371 for the district, for the AT district, and I put in parentheses the enrollment for each school. I do want to make a note to get everything to come out correctly. That enrollment beside the school is either their actual 10-day number or their projected number, whichever one is higher, because that's what the tax council funds them on. They hold them harmless. So you might look at a couple of those numbers and say, well, I didn't realize they had that many kids. Then that may have been a projected number, but just to get the dollars to work out. Most of them are pretty close. Overall, though, there is a decrease in enrollment. As you see, the total school allotments are 24,400 less. And that's just a decrease in total enrollment. Some schools went up, some went down, but overall, it's a little bit of a decrease.
So how did you break out their Trinity Middle and Louisa Middle?
What do you think?
I'm sorry, it's like, so for the 2021 year, you had $70,000 in revenues, I'm sorry, for allotments for Trinity Middle. What was the school?
So that would have been Braxton Craven.
Okay.
Yeah. I stuck with the school numbers. So yeah, the Trinity Middle School number for last year should be Braxton Craven's number.
Okay.
And then the Wheatmore Middle would have been 18 Middle's number for last year for that column.
So that's why Wheatmore Middle dropped down so much, and obviously Trinity Middle went up.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Yep. And then the final section would be Fund 8. So you see the revenues on page 16 there. NC pre-K money from the partnership, our $150,000 nursing grant. You can see ROTC revenue, driver's ed, internal fees, all total $2,940,000, $149,000 more than last year, mainly due to Medicaid reimbursements. I bumped that number up based on history and so far what we've seen this year. And then on page 17, those individual programs, the budget expenses.
No, is lottery money still like it used to be, goes to pay off?
We sign it over once a year, basically, to the county. They're annually, y'all approve their little one.
Still get by the same as we always have, or is it just kind of varied?
Yeah, the county, I don't know exactly what is sitting in our account on a regular basis. I know that the county draws down about the same amount to make that debt payment every year. But I don't know currently what we actually have available to draw down. But I think Will Massey kind of looks at their budget and looks at those that debt and makes that decision.
But we're still working on Wheatmore High and Providence Grove High. And of course now Trinity Middle's in the mix.
So we're still paying off those others. I was curious.
Yeah, I don't know where, I don't remember where we are with
Yeah,
either one of those two high schools.
2026?
For the date.
For those two?
Yeah, could be. I can't. I can go back to, I think it's listed on that annual form that y'all approve. I think the date's listed on there. I can go back and look, yeah.
It may be 26 and 29, because remember it was a 3-year window between the openings. They were open when I got here.
Is it 3 years or 2? I mean, they were pretty close.
They're pretty close, so maybe like.
6 and 8, not 6, I was thinking 6
I know,
and 9.
you know,
May not even 2.
Wheatmore was a little late.
Wheatmore was late.
Yeah, they didn't open in the fall.
Yeah.
So maybe a little over 2 years difference.
You remember when the lottery first came after a year or so? I remember we were somewhere in Yuba, Marty Trotter put on like a little skit, and remember that, because everybody thought when the lottery came, man, we're gonna have plenty of money, we're gonna be rich, the school system will do anything they want. And so Marty and Todd comes in with a 5-gallon bucket. They made it simple where we could all understand they had about this much water in the bucket. They said, this is what we're getting out of the lottery. Basically, you know, for you, if you think we're filling up a 5-gallon bucket.
By the time you pay out the prizes and pay
That's
out.
what they did, had everything, you know.
Administration, there's not much left.
It started out as 40%, and I think it's down to like 17 or 18.
Yeah.
But they still advertise it as the education.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
People
Well, every
will
once in a
buy
while,
that
you know,
ticket, they're helping
every once in a
schools.
while, the school system will get a letter that says, hey, this much money has gone to the school system, Randolph County Schools. But, yeah, and you know, there's still supposed to be money in there that helps reduce class sizes, but, you know, it's I think it's all kind of gotten washed out in the mix, you know.
Whatever they want to use it for.
Anyway, if y'all don't have any questions, I would just need approval on the budget.
Commissioner, on section 5 and 6, so that's $60 million. So I know half of that's that ESSER 3, right? So,
Right, if you look down through there, 31 million, 31.6 million is the ESSER 3 money, yes.
when do, I remember whenever you brought this to us before, it was like, a certain date, is it 20, is it 20?
September 2024, I believe, is the ESSER 3 expiration.
22, 23, 24.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, it would be, and I don't know what all is involved, but Dr. Gainey and I have had those discussions. It would be good to get that date pushed out, but I don't know, that might be more of an act of Congress.
And, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't receive that money as when you spend it.
We draw it, yeah. With all state and federal money, we don't have it in our bank account. See, if we were earning interest, which, you know, there's not much of a rate right now.
The CD right now.
But the only money that we hold in our bank accounts would be our local money. So the state and federal money, we draw it down as we need it.
If we walk in,
And if we don't expend it, they pull it back.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
don't hold on to that money.
if we walk in with 60 million, we may need to be able to negotiate our
A
rate.
little better CD rate.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Any more questions? Okay, if not, we need a motion to approve the superintendent's 2021, 22, and 2022 budget.
So moved.
Have a second?
Sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thanks, Todd. Okay, Mr. Brinkley.
Okay, good evening, board members. Tonight I bring to you a recommendation to revise the 2022-2023 calendar. Due to the November 2022 general election being held on Tuesday, 11/8/22, the following revisions to the 2022-2023 school calendar are being recommended for approval. Number 1, move the teacher workday on Friday, 11/4/22 to Tuesday, 11/8/22. And number 2, move the report card distribution day on Monday, 11/14/22 to Wednesday, 11/16/22, as we have allowed 4 to 5 days to process report cards after the scheduled workday for previous calendar years. A copy of the current 2022-2023 school calendar is attached for your reference, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have about the calendar revision request.
And board members, we had originally, several years back, tried to put a teacher workday when there was a big election coming, but we've just keep running into uncertainty with numbers, and we just decided that we want to move them forward. And when we saw this calendar, you're working on, Dale, we're bringing second reading of 23, 24 in, so we can fix that. But we knew this one was already set, and rather than have to deal with, we have polling sites that we really don't have a say in whether our polling sites can be used. A couple of years ago, I think they took the churches out of the polling site group, and so because we accept federal money, our sites are open for use as polling sites. So we just think probably safest thing for us to do moving forward is the general or the election day in the fall to always have a teacher work day there. So that's what we plan to do moving forward.
I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, it's primaries.
No, I know, but smart aleck.
It's primaries in our schools.
What about, is the primary gonna be in our school system?
This spring?
Yeah, May
Yeah,
17th.
it will be,
That's
May
gonna be a-
17th.
How do we handle that with all
That's
this
gonna be a
other?
huge
We might have to go,
turnout.
that'll be something we look at, I guess we can look at between now and then, and maybe we'll bring something back there, because that.
You just
that will
don't,
be-
yeah.
There'll be thousands of people coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually talked about that, and the date has already been changed.
May 17th. I don't think it'll change again.
You know, really, we don't,
From April to May.
you know, that was, I know, one thing, when we started at RCC, that really got me, because, you know what, we let that one slip up on us when the parent, Ms.
Yeah,
Bird, she came up and had brought that up, you know, that we had school during election day, and I hated that. I mean, that just slid by. I mean, I knew that.
Yeah,
I knew that.
May is gonna be very contentious.
We're gonna have to look at that May 17th.
Well, we've got to get a more firm, we don't have a firm date yet, Dale, May, do we?
Yeah, especially some of those
It
running.
was changed from April to May, so I can call and confirm.
Yeah, so we'll bring something, we'll look at what we do in May and bring it.
So if an 18-year-old was excluded from school during the primary, and they decided they want to come vote
On school
on school
property.
property,
A healthy activity.
a healthy,
Healthy
yes, a
18-year-old
healthy
Can
18-year-old.
come and vote.
If healthy
He just
vote.
can't go sit in a classroom.
Okay, all right.
I'm not even gonna say what I'm thinking.
So we voted.
So we need a motion to approve the revised 2022-2023 school calendar.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thanks, Dale.
Thank you, board members.
All right, Mr. Biggs.
At this time, I move that the Randolph County Board of Education will enter into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute to preserve the attorney-client privilege and to discuss confidential personnel matters protected by North Carolina General Statute.
Okay, so we have the motion, have a second?
Second.
And all those in favor say aye. Opposed, we're now in closed session. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. I've been smelling that over here all night, it's like, my sinuses are completely stopped. Ready? Okay. We need a motion to approve the administrative transfer.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We need a motion to approve the certified personnel report.
So move.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we need a motion to approve the classified personnel report.
So moved.
We have a second.
Aye.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? You been ready to get out of here, ain't you?
No, we're used to having Tracy and Mike do all the motions.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll do mine. I'll do mine.
Guys, hope you have a nice Christmas. See you.
Yeah, but thank you for.
You're welcome. There's some Gary.